England have won the third test match. We saw in the preview that I thought that they would win this one, and it was very much a topsy-turvy game again, just like the other two have been. It's been incredible to watch. Very thankful to see such high-quality test cricket, and this is exactly what you like. This type of scoreline at 263 to 237 there in the first innings, and then 224, and then 7 down chasing to get 254 was cracking work there from the English batsmen. And a stat that I only just found out yesterday was that the third and fourth innings there in the test matches in Leeds here have been the highest scoring innings there, which is very, very interesting. So what that shows basically is the 224 from Australia was a mistake. They did make a bunch of mistakes there, and shows that you got to give credit to England there to be able to get Australia out for 224 in what seemed like pretty good conditions. And when you look back at it, you go, okay, well, Marnus and Smithy gave away their wicket. Khawaja had a decent ball. They had two guys there leaving or trying to leave and getting out there in Marsh and Carey. So there were mistakes that were made to take some of those wickets. Obviously there is some luck involved. And even if you say in England's second innings there, Johnny Besto, he ended up chopping on. And so the luck goes both ways there. And you just look at that and you go, there's way too many low scores. There's a 43, a 33 from Khawaja and Labuschagne, 28 from Marsh. And one of those guys needed to go on to get that 70 or 80 or even the 100 there. Travis Head did everything he could. It could have been a lot worse. They could have been all out for under 200, and it becomes a much easier chase there. But all the credit does have to go to England, especially their bowlers. You've got Harry Brook with a cracking innings there of 75 just to get them over the line. So got an 80 from Stokes and a 75 in the first innings, and a 75 from Harry in the second innings there, just to help anchor the innings and get them over the line. But all the credit does have to go to the bowlers, and you do see in the summary there, you've got there Mark Wood with being player of the match, 5 for 34 in the first innings and 2 for 66 to go along with a 24 and a game winning at the end, 16 not out off 8 balls, which is very impressive. So he's one of those guys that I said in the full preview for the Ashes that one of those guys is not currently averaging well in England, and I think this is probably the fittest you've seen him. He did have a spell of bowling where he's bowled quicker, but the fittest, the happiest, the best I think he's bowled. The sheer pace, but obviously just that late movement as well has been absolutely essential for him to get those wickets and to bowl at a pretty good clip, but a pretty good economy rate as well, which is the big thing for these fast guys. Is a lot of time the Australians will, as long as they can get through the good ball, they can get fours very, very comfortably. And that just wasn't the case in that, in those innings there. He ended up going for a bit of tap there at the end with Travis Head. But before that, he said he was 10 overs, none for 12, going at under 4 and over, where you look at a few of the Australian bowlers there, they were going for well into the fours there. You see a 2.9 in that first innings there, where you look at even Pat Cummins, like bowling really, really well, but 6 for 91, going at 5 and over in that one. And Starkey's going at 4s. And then in the second innings, there, same thing. Like Pat's bowling really, really well, but going at 5. So that does really just make a difference in terms of building that pressure. It's really something that Boland has struggled with in all of these test matches since coming over to England there, the World Test Championship, and then the 2 test matches he's played here in the Ashes. Just the economy rate hasn't been there, and he's been giving away that 1 or 2 bad balls and over. And that's something that Wood wasn't doing in these 2 test matches. So my hat goes off to Mark. It's the best I've seen him play. And he's going to be really important going forward. They must play him unless he gets injured for sure. Just wanted to shout out to Chris Wokes as well. So we ended up getting 32 not out in that second innings. He picked up a 10, I believe, in the first, 10 off 10. With a 6 in that on that one, but his bowling was super important, as we spoke about throughout these 4 days. That 3 for 73 off the 17 in the first, so his ability to bowl a large amount of overs, and then 18 overs, 3 for 68 in that second innings, and not going too crazy with his economy rate as well, under 4 in that one. So spoke about him. He's one of those ones that's really come to fruition in how I spoke about him and thinking that he should be in this test team. I was saying Mark Wood probably shouldn't, just based off averages, but you look at Wokes and he was averaging 22 of the ball, 32 of the bat, and that just completely was on show in this one, hitting that 32 not out to hit his average, and then the 3 for in both innings. So he was super important, and him and Wood there, to go along with Broad, just continues to be the anchor of this bowling attack, did an incredible job there For sure. So, yeah, I feel like the Australians bowling in the second innings, there was nothing really wrong with it. I think they were pretty good for the most part. England batted really well, and shows Harry when he can take his time, when he can hit the right balls. A few of them he swung at that weren't on a great length. And yeah, he got away with it. He didn't get out. He didn't nick it. And that's what Crawley seems to be doing. I was saying to the old man last night that I think Brook is just a better Crawley at this point. Like, have that very expansive. They play on the up. Have all these types of shots in their game, but Brook just seems better for sure. Crawley's a little bit more loose, and can hit more. Yeah, hit a larger range. He can hit a shorter range than what Harry Brook can. So yeah, a massive innings in his career. Harry burst onto the scene, but he hadn't faced anything like Australia. And he's had his days, but this is the first time he's really gone on with it, rather than getting a 40-odd. And that's where, Crawley comes into some issues, but they did win this test match. And I think going forward, him, Ben Duckett, these are the two guys that need to really anchor this innings. One of them needs to get a score, you'd imagine, in each innings for them to do really well. Especially with Root. Like we spoke about Root having, needing a big test match here, and he got 19 and also 21. It's not exactly needed again, which is good signs. Like we spoke about in the first test with Marnus and Smithy missing out. That second one, with Smithy going really well, allowed them to win fairly comfortably. And then in this one again, Smithy struggled there in the second innings with 2, Marnus is 33, and there was 21 and 22 in the first. So again, nowhere near their averages. And if it wasn't for Mitch Marsh, that England could have dominated this test match and won it much quicker than they did. So let's look at Todd Murphy and his role as well. So he said Scott, as he said, didn't bowl as well as we would have hoped. Starkey's been really good. Obviously got plenty of wickets in that second innings there. Pat plenty in the first. So those two, they'll keep their spot for sure. Mitch Marsh, he will keep his spot just for his ability to bat. But obviously getting a wicket in each of the innings has been really, really important as well. But the amount of use they've had for Todd Murphy, very, very low. So you end up getting that wicket of Stokes in the first innings, but the reluctance to use him, especially yesterday, I think was a little bit of a mistake in the end. Yes, it's a little bit hindsight, but with about 70 or 80 runs to go, it should have been very easy to have one pace guy going, and then as soon as that, they end up changing the ball, and it did actually swing a fair bit more, which was interesting for about 4 or 5 overs. And once that went away, I really think they needed to get Murphy on and give him a chance, because they just weren't, like in that first innings, they hardly bowled him. Until it was late in the day. He played about 3 or so overs there to Stokes at the end, 3 or 4, in a really tough environment when Stokes was kind of demolishing him. And then this one, he bowled 1 before lunch, and then got 1 after, and just never really gave himself a chance to get into the innings. For someone who's a really good bowler, the Pat just didn't show any faith in him at all. So I actually doubt he gets picked in this next test. I get there was a lot of bounce, there's a lot going on there, but you even see some of the balls that Moeen Ali was bowling in the first innings, and he was getting a bunch to bounce. And Todd, I personally think at this stage of his career anyway, that he is a better spinner than Moeen. So yeah, just the underutilization of Todd. Yeah, they may as well, if Cam Green's back and fit, they may as well bring him in. And I imagine Scott Bowen will get changed for Hazelwood as well. So yeah, I suppose for an Aussie fan's perspective, it's not great that they lost, and it's they're up 2-1 now. But for the game and for the Ashes as a spectacle, it's absolutely great for viewing there, having the Australians up 2-1. Moving on to the 4th test, with a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement around. At least this test was all just about cricket. Thank goodness there was nothing, no crap going on. Afterwards, and hopefully they're moved on from the more of the booing and everything like that, and we just get a good, enjoyable 4th test, because if England can win that, it goes 2-2 into the final test, would be incredible. And if the Aussies win, you can really feel that they've earned it. Being able to go up 3-1 would be amazing to retain the Ashes that way. So I really hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're enjoying all of my updates, and we have a little bit of a break until the 4th test now, especially with the the extra day of rest that they get, and all these guys deserve it. They've been amazing. So thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next test.